Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and thank you for watching. Welcome if you are new. My name is Liz. I'm trying to post videos at least twice a week. I took a break in there for a while, but I am back. I actually haven't filmed quite a few weeks. It feels like maybe 3 or 4 weeks, so it feels great to be back. As you can see, I have a new backdrop. That is one of a few changes that I'm going to be making in the next month here on my channel. So this is just, I'm kind of testing it out to see how I feel about it. I don't know if I like it. With my new camera, it'll be interesting to see how it works, but just kind of testing it out. Today I'm going to be talking all about ColourPop eyeshadow palettes. I do own all of the ColourPop eyeshadow palettes. I don't even know how many, like 15 or something crazy like that. And I am going to be sharing them all with you, giving you brief reviews of each one, live swatches on my arm of each one, and also telling you which ones I think you should buy, for which reasons, maybe depending on what your preferences are. And there is one dud in here actually that I don't recommend at all, and I will be letting you know which one that is as well. So without further ado, let's jump into the review. My baby is sitting right down there watching me. Hi! Okay, so the first palette I'm going to talk about these in the order that I bought them, which is pretty much the same as the order they came out in, I believe. So that's what I'm going to do. So the first one I want to talk about is the Yes Please palette. This is not called Cute AF, even though that's what it says on the front here. And this is the most common packaging. Most of their palettes come in this shape. They all come in a cardboard packaging. They all have a magnetic closure, and they all have the names of the shadows on the back here. See there, it says Yes Please. You open it up here and you can see they have the hashtag ColourPopMe, and there's no mirror, and then there are the 12 eyeshadow shades. Again, like I said, this is the most standard setup layout packaging for these eyeshadow palettes. There are a few variations I'll get to in a minute, but this is what most of them look like. So this palette has the 12 eyeshadow pans. It does have 4 shimmer shades and 8 matte shades. This was a huge hit when it came out. I remember it was sold out. I want to say I bought this on like the 3rd or 4th launch, which I do want to give ColourPop huge credit for continuously restocking their products after they sell out. I like that because then I don't feel huge pressure to buy something immediately. I know that they will restock it if it's popular, if it sells out. So I really want to give them credit for that. This palette is perfect for the warm trend lovers. If you are into this warm eyeshadow palette trend, this is a fantastic one. They took a really cool spin on the warm eyeshadow palette trend. They have this really nice vibrant yellow in here, really fun shades. I feel like this palette is one of the better warm toned eyeshadow palettes out there, I have to say, for the price, the quality, and the variety of colors. And you will notice that as a trend in a lot of these palettes is that the variety of colors and finishes they put on their palettes is really fantastic and really unique and makes each palette worth it. I feel like this palette is perfect for summer and transitioning into fall if you're looking for that kind of a palette, but it's also really great for any time of year. As I always say, you can wear whatever you want, whenever you want. There's no rules. I also feel like this has a lot of really good neutrals, so you could get a basic neutral look with, you know, maybe this one. It doesn't have to be super warm, although it definitely is leaning towards the warm. I don't feel like there are any dud shadows in this palette. I feel like it's fantastic. I think a lot of you are already aware of this one because I know I think this was the first one they came out with and it was super popular, so I definitely recommend this one. It's one of my favorites for sure. One of the main downsides to this palette is the white packaging. It's getting fingerprints all over it. That's very annoying, but you know, it's not impossible to clean. You can wipe it off to clean it, and the white packaging doesn't affect the quality of the shadows. So yes, the Yes Please palette is awesome for the warm toned lovers. Next one we have is the My Little Pony eyeshadow palette. This one has 8 shimmers and only 4 mattes. This is definitely more for the creative and colorful color lover. This palette has a few really fun duochromes, and it does also come with coordinating Super Shock shadows, which you absolutely do not have to make complete looks with this palette. I love this palette. This is, I don't know, I'm probably say each one is one of my favorites because they kind of are for various reasons, but this one is fantastic. This color right here, which is called Minty, is so beautiful and vibrant, pigmented, and like all over any of these all over the lid. It's just amazing. ColourPop powder eyeshadows, I don't think I really mentioned yet, are absolutely amazing. Their singles are amazing. I have reviews on all of their singles. I'll link that in the description box if you are interested in that. I love their powder eyeshadow formula, so these are no different. These palettes are amazing. Anyways, this is going to be for the color lover, and it's not a rainbow palette, but it's very much a colorful palette, and it's great for getting outside of your comfort zone and getting creative and maybe combining colors that you normally wouldn't think to combine, you know. And I actually feel like that is something that a lot of these ColourPop palettes do really well, is give you color combinations that you might not choose on your own. There's this really nice light pink here, and orange, and then some purples, a more reddish purple, and then a more blue purple, and then your blues. Duochrome shades here. I mean, this duochrome blue is so pretty. And then it has this really nice dark shade, which if you layer this one on first and then put any of these lighter shades on top of it, you can get really interesting looks. I love doing that. I've been doing that lately. And then you have a few neutrals, but not really. This isn't going to be your neutral palette. If you want neutral looks, this isn't going to be your palette, obviously. But I really love this one. I love that they have a lot of the metallic shades, but then their matte ones are actually really, really good too. Like, their matte shades are really good quality, really pigmented, and really smooth. So this is a really fantastic one for the color lover. Next one is the She palette. This is the Femme Rosy Carouche and ColourPop collaboration. This one has 4 matte shades, 7 metallic shades, and 1 satin shade. And this is actually the only palette that does have the type of shadows on the back here. They all have the names of the shadows on the back, but this one actually says metallic, satin, metallic, and then the mattes down here. So that's interesting. I don't know why they didn't do that for all of them. I kind of wish they did, but it's whatever. The packaging is so pretty. Roses. I love this packaging. I love how each palette has different packaging too. That's really fun for me. So this palette has 4 matte shades, 7 shimmer shades, and 1 satin shade. I would describe this palette as a rosy and romantic palette. A lot of the pink and purple tones. These shadows are really metallic, which is beautiful. I think there are a lot of good shadows in this palette that would be good for just single lid shades if you're trying to go out the door and just pop one of these shades on the lid. They're nice kind of mid-tone rosy shades that would all look really good on their own, and then of course you can combine them to get really good looks as well. I also like how this is laid out in the sense that I think it's very user-friendly. You have your sort of lighter shades up here, mid-tone ones, and then your matte shades are all down here in a row. You could go like this and make a trio of colors, and then of course you can do them however you want. But I do feel like it's laid out really nicely. I feel like you can get a good amount of variety from this. I don't feel like it's the most variety that you can get, but I do really enjoy the She palette. Next we have the I Think I Love You eyeshadow palette. This is what this one looks like. This comes with 4 mattes and 8 shimmers. This is the most diverse neutral palette that they have. So if we're talking about strictly neutral palettes, this one is the most diverse, being that it has this black and the gold. I would compare this one to the Urban Decay Naked palettes. I always describe those as like a neutral palette with attitude. I feel like this one is the same. This is definitely a neutral palette. I mean, if you consider like gold a pop of color, that's really the only pop of color in here, but it has a lot of attitude. The metallic shades are so beautiful. They're so glowy. Like, I put these on my eyes and it looks like my eyes are glowing. It's amazing, and you don't even need to use a wet brush. Hello, amazing. So to me, this is going to be a must-have for a lot of people if you are looking for really good neutral palettes, neutral colors that pack a punch. You know, they're not boring neutrals. I mean, they're neutrals, so they're not the most exciting thing in the world, but they're really interesting and good neutrals. And you have this bright yellow gold, but you also have this softer gold over here, a bunch of sort of your bronzy warm tones, and then some really good matte shades too. Not the most amount of mattes in this palette, which is why I say it's like a neutral palette with attitude, because you have those shimmery metallic shades. This is definitely for someone who's not afraid to use shimmer and metallic shades on a regular basis. If you're more leaning towards mattes, this might not be the one for you, but they are so beautiful, and there are enough mattes in here to get your blending shades, your crease shades, the highlighting shade, the black. I mean, it's really, really a well laid out palette. I really do love the I Think I Love You palette. Next we have the Element of Surprise palette. This one has 5 mattes, 6 shimmers, and 1 sort of glitter infused matte. Now this one does have your really fun pops of color, this bright pink, this frosty purple here, and then some really interesting neutrals too, like this interesting brown shade. I find that to be really fun. And then this sort of, is it mauve, is it brown? I'm not really sure, matte shade. And then this one is more of your standard. This is one that I find to not be that great of quality. This is the shadow called Go With The Flow. It's a little bit too powdery and slightly chalky in my opinion, which happens on a rare occasion in these palettes. That does happen, but overall, this is an amazing palette. I love the pops of color, and again, I love that you can get some basic everyday neutral looks and you can get some pops of color. It has this really pretty duochrome called Rayon. Super fun. I love that they throw in some crazy duochromes. They throw in these bright colors, this glitter infused one. I mean, you can see the glitter a little bit on the matte glitter infused shades, but they don't show up like maybe you might want them to. I don't always see the point to doing shadows like that because I feel like the glitter just doesn't always show up. But it's a nice idea. This is going to be one that I might not recommend for everybody. I feel like this one is a dud. Like I said, it's not the best quality. Some of these metallics are tending to be a little bit on the chunky side, which they're still workable, but they're a little bit tougher to work with because they're so chunky, and it can make them pop and look really cool, which is a good thing. But also, like I said, they're chunky. There's some fallout. There's, you know, they're gonna look a little chunky on the lid. You might not like that. So this I don't think that I would recommend for everybody, although I love it. I love the colors in it, and I love how it encourages my creativity. So, you know, I'm not like saying it's bad, but I'm just saying if you don't feel like you want to get outside of your comfort zone, maybe this isn't the one for you. Next, we have the You Had Me at Hello eyeshadow palette. This one contains 6 matte shades and 6 shimmer shades. This one retails for $18. This is the first one that retails for $18, and they increased the price because they added a mirror. And I think it's cool how they did that. I think that it's a really cool way for ColourPop to test out how we feel about that, you know? And it's legit. It's like, okay, if you guys are saying you want a mirror, here's your mirror. It's going to cost a little bit more. And I just think it's cool that they did that because I know a lot of people were complaining that there wasn't a mirror in the palette. I would describe this as a girly neutral palette. It's neutrals, but girly in the sense that they're more pink and purple toned, but it's not strictly a pink or purple or rose toned palette, just kind of leaning in that direction. I feel like this would be a really good wedding palette. It has a lot of those romantic shades in there. I am obsessed with the matte neutral shades in this palette. They are so freaking beautiful. I love that it's 6 and 6, like 6 shimmers, 6 mattes. It makes it really you can get a lot of variety from this palette because of that. I love this shade called Pulling Strings. I love all of these. Like I said, I love all of the mattes. I think they're really great. This is definitely going to be one of the top ones that I would recommend for most people if you're looking to maybe purchase 1 or 2 of these. Because of all of the mattes and all of the shimmers, you get a really nice variety. I think you could wear this a lot of different ways. You can get a really smoky look if you want to with this color and this one, you know, mixing it in with any of the other ones. You can get really nice shimmer shades, purple, pink, brown, neutral, everyday, whatever you want. Natural looks, you know, you can really get that with this. And then of course having the mirror makes it perfect for going to weddings or traveling or whatever it is. It makes it a lot easier to do that because it has a mirror. So I love this one. This is one of my favorites. I know I say that for all of them, but like this is going to be one of those ones that I would recommend to a lot of people. Now we're getting into where ColourPop started switching it up a little bit. This is the Golden State of Mind palette. This initially was released only on Sephora's website. That's where I bought it, but now it is available on the ColourPop website. So this one contains 15 shadows instead of the 12, and it does retail for a little bit more. As you can see, they are all metallic glitter infused shades. They're not just metallic because they do have chunks of glitter in them. They're very intense shadows that are not going to be everyone's cup of tea. I know a lot of people do not like this palette because it's just not extremely user-friendly. It's not easy. It's not everyday colors. Even if you just pick one and put it on the lid, most of these are going to pack a punch and they're not going to be something that everyone is going to love. I personally like this palette. When I first saw it, I was underwhelmed because of the color selection. After owning it though, I do really enjoy it and I feel like there's a lot of really great colors in here. However, I don't know why they wanted to make it a 15 pan palette. I think they could have just left it as a 12 pan and maybe just cut out like these 3 and just left it like that and left it at the normal price and we all would have been much happier. I think adding those 3, I think they wanted to make it something different, but I just don't think it's necessary. I think there's a few too many neutrals in here, you know? I don't think they're necessary. So that's my opinion on this one. These shadows work best with a setting spray and or a sticky base on your lid first. Otherwise, they're not going to live up to their full potential. There are no mattes in this palette, so if you are someone who prefers to have mattes when you're creating a look, that is something you're going to have outside of this palette. This palette has some oil stains, and this is the only ColourPop palette that I've experienced this with, but it does have that end. I don't like that. I mean, I don't think it affects the eyeshadow. I don't really know, but it's just kind of annoying, and it's something that like starts out small and grows. A couple of my Anastasia glow kits have that. I don't like that, so I just felt like I wanted to point that out to you guys. But again, this is the only palette I've noticed that with ColourPop. So that's the Golden State of Mind. This next one was released at the same time as the Golden State of Mind palette. It was also a Sephora exclusive. Now it's available on the ColourPop website, but when it was first released, it was just on Sephora website. This is a semi-precious eyeshadow palette. This has 8 shimmer shades. They're all the same finish. So again, this palette doesn't have any matte shades. I think it's just supposed to be 8 really pretty, shimmery, vibrant, jewel-toned shades. These ones are better than the Golden State of Mind palette in the sense that they are not as chunky. They're just more of a smooth shimmer, which is really nice, really pretty colors. I love the color selection. I do feel like this icy blue is kind of misplaced. It's kind of harder for me to get a look with this blue and then these other shades. Like I feel like I have to bring in some other colors from other palettes, but that's just me. I mean, I think it's still fun that they threw that in there. I feel like they could have taken this palette and made it a 12 pan palette and added 4 matte shades. That might have been a better idea. But again, I think they were just trying to do something different. I really do like the packaging of this one too. The design on the outside is really fun, and I like it. I am actually wearing this one today. I am wearing these 2 shades on my lid along with a couple of other palettes. I combined 3 different palettes for my look today, but I do like these. I do feel like they perform better with a setting spray. I will say that. I don't feel like they perform on their own very well. That's just my experience with these shadows, but overall, I think these are great, and I would recommend this one over the Golden State of Mind. If you're looking for one palette that's going to be like all shimmer or whatever, this one is a really great one. So after ColourPop released those last 2 ones that I just talked about, which we kind of thought those were their holiday palettes, they actually released a complete holiday collection. And the palette that came with that collection is the All I See Is Magic palette. Again, with the white packaging, you can see mine has fingerprints all over it. Really frustrating, but it is what it is. This palette has 6 matte shades, 8 metallic shades, and 1 satin. This one also has coordinating Super Shock shadows that are fun to play with, but again, not completely necessary if you're getting this palette. I love all of the colors that they put in here. This is one that I think it deserves to be a 15 pan palette. There's no color in here that I don't think belongs in here. There's no color in here that's a dud, in my opinion. They're all really nice. I love the shades, like these like rosy, pink, purpley shades, but then also these orange rusty shades. Combining those on the eyes looks really fun, and it's something that I never would have done if I hadn't had this palette. Really, really fun though. I love how it has the warm tones that are really in right now that make really good base shades under any other color, like a pink shimmer or this sort of greenish brown shimmer here. It's like a duochrome, like a green with a brownish red undertone. And there's a gold. I mean, this is a fantastic palette. This one up here is like, sorry about the glare. Like I said, I'm still getting used to my lighting and everything with this backdrop, but this is a beautiful inner corner highlight with sort of a white with a gold duochrome. Just so beautiful. I love this one. This is one of my favorites. I'm kind of sad that it's their holiday collection because that makes me think it's going to be limited edition, but as of right now, all of these are available on the ColourPop website. She was letting me film like half the video, and then she just had a lot to say, so she wanted to come on camera. What do you think? Should we keep talking about ColourPop, or are you gonna steal the show? Yeah, you. I'm thinking of doing like a vlog or some sort of a thing where I share a bunch of photos and videos of her and give you guys like a general update if you're interested, and just kind of like a record for myself too, because she's changing so fast. I can't believe it, but oh, I'm so glad you're looking at the camera, pretty blue eyes. The next palette I want to talk about is the Dream Street palette. This is a collaboration with Kathleen Lights and ColourPop. This one retails for $16 as well. This palette contains 6 mattes, 5 shimmers, and 1 satin finish. This is the first eyeshadow palette that Kathleen Lights has collaborated with, although she's done lots of other collaborations with ColourPop. Well, I have a lot to say about this palette. The first thing I want to say is I think it's really awesome that this palette remained at the $16 price point. Even though it's a collaboration with Kathleen Lights, I think it is so awesome that they were able to keep it at that $16 and they didn't raise the price just because it's a collaboration with her. I do believe she is the biggest YouTuber that collaborates with ColourPop. I think this is going to be a great palette if you are a huge fan of Kathleen Lights and you want to support her and you want something that she put her heart and soul into. I think this is going to be a great palette for you. But if you already have a lot of other ColourPop palettes or ColourPop eyeshadows, this might not be the one for you. At first glance, it looks colorful and interesting, but there's really only 4 shades, in my opinion, that are interesting. The 2 blues, the red, and then this silvery, sort of a blue duochrome, are the only shades in this palette that are really different, in my opinion. Everything else I already have in palettes, and if you have other ColourPop palettes, if you have Naked palettes, if you have whatever, any neutral palettes, you probably already have most of these shades except for these pops of color. So if all you want is the color combinations in this palette, I would suggest you maybe buy 3 or 4 singles from ColourPop or from Coastal Scents or someplace else that has really affordable eyeshadow singles. You can get these colors there, and then you don't have to have a bunch of other shades that you already have. So that's my opinion, but again, this is a good palette. It's not bad. I do think this is a good palette, and it's nice because it does have those pops of color, but it also has a lot of neutrals, so you can get a very wearable, natural, everyday look from it. The next palette I want to talk about is the Doubleentendre Shadow Palette. This one has 7 mattes, 3 metallics, 1 satin, and 1 glitter infused shadow. So it's the matte with the glitter infused in it. This is by far the most neutral, basic, everyday eyeshadow palette that ColourPop has produced. The shadow that is infused with glitter, which is called Hot Bod, does not show up. The glitter does not show up very much. I was hoping it would show up. It shows up a tiny bit, but really not very much, which is fine. It's still a pretty color of brown to have in the palette. But yeah, this is without a doubt the most neutral, basic palette that ColourPop did. If you are a neutral lover, then you're gonna love this. And ColourPop, I would like to say thank you for making us a nice basic neutral palette with a lot of very wearable mattes, but you don't have to do this anymore. Enough is enough. This is all we needed. Now keep up with the interesting colors, interesting finishes. Please don't do any more all brown palettes like this. This is all we need. Okay, thanks. I do feel like I'm gonna be reaching for this palette a lot to mix in with other palettes. Some of those palettes, maybe like the My Little Pony, that don't have enough mattes to create a complete look. I'm going to be grabbing this one. So that's kind of my view on this one. But again, like I said, I hope we don't see too many more like this from ColourPop, because right now they're on a really good trend of creating very interesting, unique color combinations and finishes, and this is just a little bit too basic to have many more of these. Lastly, we get to the palette, which unfortunately is the dud for me. This is the Take Me Home eyeshadow palette. This has 3 mattes, 2 shimmers, and 1 glitter infused eyeshadow in it. This is my least favorite. It does have a mirror, and it is more designed for travel. They did mention that on the website. I believe that this one they had travel in mind, so I think that's why they made it very small and compact, and why they included a mirror in it, because they want it to be kind of your all-in-one palette that you have when you're traveling. First of all, I don't think they did the best job at color selection. There's 2 pretty similar darkish browns here that I just don't understand why, if you only have 6 colors, would you pick 2 dark shadows like that? You really only need 1. Then the shadow that might be your crease or transition shade has glitter infused in it, which makes that a little bit difficult. Again, the glitter doesn't show up a lot, but why even put it there? You know, I just don't fully understand. And then this shade is completely the most chalky, most powdery shadow that ColourPop has ever created, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's just like, it's terrible. That shadow, it's called Issues. I mean, it has issues. Shimmers are really pretty, I'll give it that. I like the shimmers, and that's probably what I'll be using most from this palette, are the 2 shimmer shades, but it's not worth it for just those 2 shades, and they're not that different from anything else in any other palettes. So this one is a fail for me. I do not recommend it, unfortunately. I feel like they kind of maybe rushed it, like they wanted to create a good travel palette, and they just kind of threw that one together, and it's just not the best they can do. I just know that ColourPop can do better. I did forget to mention the other two palettes I'm wearing on my eyes are the Dream Street and the All I See Is Magic. So I kind of combined shadows from both of those for my look today. And like I said, I've really been loving combining different palettes. ColourPop palettes are really good for that as well. So overall, I think ColourPop eyeshadow palettes are phenomenal. They are definitely one of my favorites from 2017 is ColourPop eyeshadows and their eyeshadow palettes. They are great quality, they are great color selection. Overall, they're doing a really good job of creating different palettes. I feel like a lot of these brands are releasing palettes that are just too similar, or they're just stuck in like the same ruts, like the same finishes, the same like pops of like a dark purple and a light pink and a whatever, which is fine, but it's nice to see ColourPop getting out of that, and it's such an affordable price of $16 for most of them. You just can't go wrong. I really recommend ColourPop eyeshadow palettes, you guys, if you haven't tried them. So if you haven't tried ColourPop eyeshadows, I hope that you will. I hope that this video was helpful for you guys in some way, that it gave you some idea of which palettes you should buy, which one will work best for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know in the comments section. I did do this video with Morphe palettes recently. I compared the 3502, the Jaclyn Hill, and the 39A, and a lot of you were asking me questions, and I was really happy to answer those in the comment section. So again, if you have questions like that, please leave them in the comment section, and I will get to those as soon as I possibly can. If I think of any other information, I'll leave it in the description box, and I will also link all of these palettes down there with any other details, prices, etc., so that you can have all that information easily accessible for you guys. Yeah, I hope that you will subscribe to my channel if you have not already. I would greatly appreciate that. Alright guys, give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you again. We will talk to you again very soon. Say bye! Say bye! Bye! She's done. One palette that's gonna be like all shimmer or whatever. This one is I really do enjoy the Femme Rosy She palette. Oh, bless you. Look up here, Rosie. Here. Say hi. She really wanted to come on camera. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, she's looking at me in the viewfinder. Hi. Hi, sweet girl. Oh, yeah. So sweet. Yeah. Yeah.